Being the video nerd that I am, I'm always on the lookout for new gear, whether that's a new lens, new filter, or new lighting equipment. In this episode, we're going to take a look at one such piece of gear, a light that was sent over by Viltrox for me to mess around with. I'm actually being lit by it right now. It is an 85 watt LED panel that goes by the name VLD85. There are two variants under this, the VLD85T, in which T stands for temperature, and the VLD85B, in which B stands for brightness. More on what distinguishes them later, but for now, just know I'm checking out the VLD85D.
So the retail price of this light is approximately $350 US or 25,000 Indian rupees. It comes in a cardboard packaging with a carrying case that includes the panel itself, a DC adapter, a remote, a V-mount to NPF battery converter, and an Allen key. It does not come with batteries in the box, you will have to get your own. It supports Sony NPF 960s as well as V-mount batteries. For my testing, I used Sony NPFs that I had lying around from my other aperture light. That said, you can also connect the light directly to the wall using the included DC adapter, and the length of the cable is also long enough at 3 meters if that is a concern. Alright, now the light itself, it is built really well. It's made of metal and so far I've had no issues build quality wise, but I do feel like there's one thing missing. I mean, it doesn't exactly have a handle that you can hold on to, so oftentimes I just hold the light by the battery, which is not exactly a good thing. I really wish they'd included like some sort of side handle to get a grip on the light, but unfortunately that's not the case. Form factor wise, it is housing 1200 LEDs, so it is bigger than your average $100 LED panel. For some perspective, here's a 15-inch MacBook Pro. The light is just a little bit bigger than the laptop, so if you really wanted to, you could probably stuff this light into a backpack if you unscrew the yoke on the side, or you could just use the included carrying case, which is pretty decent too. On the back of the light is where all the control lies. This is where you insert your batteries, and the battery locking mechanism is just okay at best. You gotta push the little tab and then pull the battery with all the power you have, and only then will it come out. Personally, not a fan of it, as it does feel like I'm gonna hurt my finger or break the light. Once you do it a couple of times, you get used to it, but I wish there was some sort of a button that you could push and just gently pull the batteries out as opposed to this. What I love on the other hand is there is a display that shows you all the information, taking out of the equation any kind of guesswork. So you have two knobs, one to control the intensity and another to control the color temperature. The knobs are stepless, they're really good quality and don't feel like they're just gonna pop off, unlike some other lights I've used in the past. The intensity goes from 20% to 100%. I wish there were a 10% option, because even at 20 sometimes the light can be too bright. As for the temperature, if you get the VLD85D, which is the variant I have, you will get a bicolor panel, so you'll be able to go from 3300 Kelvin to 5600 Kelvin, whereas if you get the VLD85B, you're getting a fixed daylight only light.
Both the D85T and the D85B have 1200 LEDs, the distinction being that on the B variant, all the 1200 LEDs are daylight, whereas on the T variant you have a mix of tungsten and daylight, so you have 600 tungsten lamps and 600 daylight lamps. The direct result of that is that at 5600 Kelvin, the B variant will be much brighter than the T variant. On the T variant, the max output will probably be in the middle, so around 4500 Kelvin, whereas on either ends, that is at 3300 Kelvin and 5600 Kelvin, the light output will drop to about half. Apart from that, the two lights are exactly the same. They both have DMX if you're into that, and finally they can both be controlled using the included remote, which actually works really well. Alright, so right now I am being lit by the VLD85D. The light is right outside the frame. In fact, if I bring it a little closer, you guys can probably see it. So the light is currently at a temperature of 4000 Kelvin at an intensity of 30%, and my camera is at f1.4 and ISO 100. Now straight out of the box, the light is a bit hard. It does come with a diffuser that does soften the light out a bit, but not quite to the extent that I like. So you can shoot it through an umbrella. I don't have access to one, so instead what I did is I literally took the polythene cover that the light came in and I taped it around the barn doors to create a softbox of sorts. More on the barn doors in a bit, but yeah, you can literally take any translucent material and use that as diffusion. Of course, you can add more or less layers of diffusion depending on your taste, but right now I've got the diffuser that came with the light as well as the polythene that I attached. So that's 2 layers, and this is what it looks like. Now, diffusing the light will obviously also cut down the light, but that should not really be a problem with this panel because it is extremely bright to begin with. According to Viltrox, at a distance of 1 meter and at approximately 4500 Kelvin, the light lets out 7000 lux of output. Now, I don't have an actual light meter to verify the numbers, but I do have this app on my phone called Lux Meter. Take it for what it's worth, but it showed me approximately 7000 lux as well, so I would assume Viltrox's numbers are correct. But yeah, just to put that in perspective, and here's the kicker, the Aputure 120D Mark II that costs almost twice as much as this light lets out 7000 lux of output. Now, output is not everything, there's so many things that make a good light, but if you're talking strictly intensity or output, what you're getting with the Viltrox light here is really incredible value. For those of you that care, it has a CRI rating of 95 plus. I tested the color using the custom white balance temperature on my camera, the Sony a6300. So what I did is I literally matched the temperature on the light to that on my camera, and I was able to reproduce white light at almost every single value. Maybe in some cases 100 Kelvin up or down, but for the most part it was pretty accurate, which I think is pretty impressive. But back to the barn doors for a second. I think this is probably my favorite feature of this light. So traditionally barn doors are used to shape light, but due to the nature of this panel that's not quite possible. But instead what I think they're great for is to simply cut or flag light. So with my other lights that I have from Aputure, those don't really have barn doors. So when I'm shooting in this room which has white walls, the light just hits every single wall and there's unwanted spill everywhere, whereas with this light I can just choose to direct the light in just the direction that I want, removing any kind of spill. So that is extremely convenient. I also tested the light for flicker across different frame rates and shutter speeds including 120 fps, and I'm happy to report that the light does not suffer from any kind of flickering issue. As for heat, the light actually gets pretty hot over an extended period of time, and by extended period of time I mean like 2 hours ish. So for the first 90 minutes at max output, the light didn't really get hot, it was pretty decent. But then after that, approximately towards like 2 hours time period, the light got pretty hot to touch, so do bear that in mind. So that is the VLD85. Objectively speaking, the battery locking mechanism and the grip aside, I think it is a great light for the money. It's great for talking shots like this, documentaries, interviews, product, narrative, really anything you can think of, it'll do the job. Of course, if you're just starting out, do not spend $400 on a light. But if you've been doing video for some time, if you're a little serious about it, I think this is an absolutely great investment. So that's about it for this video. If you found this review helpful or if you enjoyed watching it, give it a like. If you did not, vote it down. Let me know in the comments why you didn't like it. It's been Suraj. Thanks so much for watching. Take it easy and stay devoted.